but the sky was almost daylight because they'd set fire to all the oil installations around the islands in Singapore Harbour, and so it was just like glow, you know, and it was eerie because by now all the fighting had stopped. So there was no gunfire or shelling or bombing, so it was deathly quiet, and that in itself is a traumatic atmosphere, because for weeks and weeks you've been constantly having this dreadful noise in your ears of gunfire and shells and bombs, and suddenly it's quiet. It's a little bit hard to adjust. And we were out in the harbour, and Singapore Harbour, it's not like Sydney Harbour or the Brisbane River. It is a harbour, but it's surrounded by islands, little islands, and so you don't know which way to go, you don't know which way is out. And so we decided that we'd wait till morning. We threw out the anchor. We're well away from the shore, and so we put the anchor overboard and decided we'd spend the night and then wait till daybreak and then get going. But nobody knew anything about sailing a boat. That was the thing. And so when we started the little up motor on the boat, and every boat has a little auxiliary engine, we didn't know that you had to turn on a little water cock to keep the engine cool. And so by the time we got out and decided to throw the anchor overboard, there was this dreadful smell of metal, and the engine was just ready to seize because it was red hot and hadn't had any cooling through it. And so we decided that we'd have to find out how to put the sails up the next morning to make a go of it. And I don't recall much of what happened then. I know there were 7 of us on this very small boat. I guess we stretched out or slept on top of each other or something. I don't know what we did. And the next morning, and right at dawn, and we drifted all night. We drifted right into near the shoreline again. And we found out later that Singapore Harbour was heavily mined, so we probably dragged this anchor through minefields. I don't know how we missed any. And we started to put the sails up, and we saw Japanese running along the shore, and they were firing at us, but we were out of range. And just by some miracle, and I don't know, you don't know how these things happen, we got the sails up enough to get a strong breeze, and so that arose. And the other amazing thing was, the Japanese had no surface craft in Singapore, in that area at the time. When they finally surrendered, when we finally surrendered and the ceasefire was given, they didn't have any surface craft in Singapore, in the harbour area at all. And also the fact that they didn't come into Singapore City until the morning after the surrender, because the surrender was signed in late afternoon, and so it wasn't until the next morning they came in.